I can't get on.
Welcome. This is the Snarking Dead. This is the Snark Alecs, and we're going to wrap up Season 5 of The Walking Dead. And before we get started, there's a big group here tonight, so we all want to try not to speak over each other. Starting left to right on my screen, I'll call out your name. First finale, and then first half, second half. Score of 1 to 10. Let's go, Dylan.
All right. Finale, I gave it a 10. First half, maybe 8, and the second half, probably about a 9-ish.
10, 8, 9. And next is Helena.
So finale, I would give the finale like a 9. The first half I would give about a 6, and the season I'd give an 8. The last half of the season an 8.
Okay, and next up would be Helena's husband, John.
Okay, I would give the finale a 10 also. First half of the season, a 7, and the second half, 8.
Okay, and Mr. Toole, Mr. Kelly Toole, the Kelly.
No one said there was going to be math.
Well, I'm not adding anything up, dude. Just numbers.
All right. Finale, 7.5. First half of the season, 7. Second half, 8.
Okay, and next is Midgie Girl Lee. Lee.
I liked it because no one I love died, so I have to give it I'll give it a 9.
Okay. First half?
I expected a main character to bite it, and they didn't. No pun intended. But I thought it was good.
So how about first half?
For me?
Of
Yes.
the season, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting season. It was gorier. I did not quite know where it was going. I started reading the graphic novel, which is quite different from the show. You know that. I liked it. I liked it. I liked the first and second half.
Okay.
I
So you refuse to give the first half a number and the second half a number?
Okay. It's a little bit slow. I guess with Aaron and all that, going to Alexandria, I'd give it a 7.
A 7? 7 for first and second half?
9.
9 second half. Okay. I'm going to skip over Mike because he's got to go last for obvious reasons. And we're going to go to Myrna.
Why is it shit on Mike Day?
No, I'm not crapping on you.
Yeah, Tony. Stop it.
I give the finale a 10. I loved it. The first half a 7, and the second half. Let me see. Did anybody die in the second? Oh no.
Tyrese.
I'll give it a 8. Tyrese was the first, wasn't it?
No, he was the premiere of the second half.
Okay, so
Alright,
I'm going
I'll
to
give the second an 8.
an 8. Okay. I'm going to give the finale a 10. First half a 9, and the second half a 9.9. Those are my ratings. And now, last but not least, Mike. Finale
Really
on a
quick before I
scale
give
of
mine.
1 to 10.
9.9?
Yes.
9.9.
Not a 10, a 9.9.
He didn't like 0.1% of it.
I'm anxious to hear that explanation. So, for me, the first half of the season was like when the ice cream truck comes around and you and your friend Kelly go out to the ice cream truck and you get all excited because you see that baseball ice cream cone. That was the first half of the season. The second half of the season was when you get that and you realize it tastes like shit and your friend Kelly's a job-stealing son of a bitch. And then the finale is when you get to the gumball at the bottom of it, which kind of made it okay.
Oh, okay. I need to know what's behind this job stealing shit, but maybe because
It's for another discussion.
Yeah.
But
we will discuss it.
not tonight.
No, not tonight. No, let's move on.
Okay. So, based on the scores, everybody's around the same areas, but for first half of the season, Helena gave Walking Dead a 6, and I'd like to explore that a little bit. Why a 6?
The hospital thing drove me crazy. It just was. It just drove me crazy. It was very static. I thought it went on too long. I just wasn't a hospital fan.
It's almost filler-esque, correct? You think?
Yeah.
Filler-esque. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I liked seeing Beth not singing. That's my opinion. Not singing Beth.
She tried.
And with everything that Beth went through, some of the childishness and some of the things that happened when she was just alone with Daryl, and then in that hospital, she seemed to be growing a backbone and a spine, and she got it, And unfortunately, when she got it, she also got it, But the first half, as far as I was concerned, I think the Terminus episode, right at the beginning, because it was so far away, I think a lot of people forget about that and how awesome, the first 1 or 2 episodes were before we got into that kind of lull with the hospital. But I mean, Terminus was friggin' awesome, and the stuff that happened after that was pretty good, which is why I based my score on that. Does anybody else have anything that they want to say about the first half? I know Dylan chimed in a little bit.
I can't imagine anyone being worse than Gareth, and now we've got the Wolves. I mean, he keeps getting up a notch in horrificness of the people who were really bad. I mean, you thought the governor was the worst.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
eating Pete, chopping them like deer meat. Ugh.
Well, that was a whole community too that was doing that. But again, you have to realize we went from Terminus into the church, the dust up between Abraham and Rick, and Glenn and Maggie actually going with Tara and the rest of that group, where we find out that Eugene was full of crap the whole time, which was no mystery to anybody who read the comics. But I mean, a lot of stuff happened, and that was first half stuff. So I'm not that I'm trying to convince you to up your score a little bit, but some of that stuff happened so early, and then you got into those episodes with Beth where it really did kind of slow down the pace. But Dylan, did you? I think you had a problem with some of the Beth episodes.
Yeah, I did. And to get back to your point, Tony, real quick before I hit that part, the first half season was definitely, I mean, you got to see Carol being totally badass when she took out the Terminus people, which I thought was freaking awesome. And then when you got everybody back together, and they were all happy to see each other, and then finally the family was back together, and then they go to the church, and they're going to separate again. And I understand in the concept of the story, but I would have preferred a little bit more together time. I mean, you got that in the second half of the season, but before we knew what was to come in the second half of the season, I mean, we had our ideas, but before that got there, it was basically just rehashing where everybody was separated again at the end of the last season. And but don't get me wrong, I mean, there's some good episodes. I mean, the Bob storyline, and then how they outflanked the termites and slaughtered them in the church, and then they took off, and then we had the Beth story, which I understand where you're coming from too, Tony. It was almost like a palate cleanser almost, because a lot of stuff was was a lot of action-packed gore, explosions, stuff like that, and then it's just sort of slowed to a halt, into the hospital, but you kind of needed that, I guess. You kind of needed that to slow things down a little bit, find out what was going on with Beth, and then you jump to the Abraham story, which I've seen a lot of people were up and down on that one also. Some people kind of liked it, some people were kind of okay. It was all right, and then you go to the finale of the Beth story with the awesome pairing of Daryl and Carol working together, with, in the ambulance falling from the bridge, and meeting up with Noah and stuff like that. And then, and the one thing is, and we had this discussion before, Tony, and I understand why she did it, but I still don't like Beth's choice at the end of the episode where she died. I still think, I understand that she was upset. She didn't want to lose Noah because Noah's going back to this hellhole, and she wanted to prove a point, but it was just the wrong time to prove that point. And that was one of the reasons why I gave it a slightly lower number than the second half.
Well, to tell you the truth, the thing that bothered me about the hospital, and they didn't really push the issue as much as they could because they cloaked it a little bit, but the cops in that hospital were probably some of the creepiest people that have been in this show. Okay, because the cops were taking advantage of, let's call them the inmates, as payment for their protection. So it was almost like they were a bunch of pimp daddies, and they were, when you're doing it with a cop uniform on, it makes it a little bit worse. But Kelly, for the 7.5 for the finale, seems kind of low compared to the next lowest score from anybody for the finale was a 9. So explain yourself, sir.
Well, first of all, I'm just trying to recover because as you talked about the hospital and the people running it, taking advantage of the people trying to work there, it's a lot how Mike treated us during Snark Alec Radio, if you recall. so very similar parallels. I'm trying to block that out. But
I had Kelly in the office a few times, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. I threw my knee pads away. Just saying.
Yeah, so 7.5 is not a bad score. It's a little lower than everybody. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good finale. A couple things that and Lee mentioned it earlier. Norman Reedus was out there, and there was all this big buildup to say I had gotten mentally prepared to lose one or two major cast characters at the end of this arc, and then when that didn't happen, that was a mild irritant to me, and I guess it's kind of good for misdirection and that type of stuff. So there was that piece of it.
Can I interject really quick? Do you think it was misdirection, or do you think that they overestimated how much the audience gave a shit about the guy who got killed at the end of the episode?
I think it was misdirection.
Because Reedus actually wrote the sign that said, "I'm going to die" in the season finale.
I saw that.
Well, one of the reasons I think it was Hardwick was toying with us, saying there was a special guest, and he said, "I can finally announce it is going to be Norman Reedus, but there is another special guest," or was it Melissa McBride who was the one that he announced, and then he said there's another special guest, and everybody assumed because Reedus and Melissa McBride had already been announced that neither one of them were going to die, but the special guest was going to die. So, but continue, because everybody at that point were probably thinking that Glenn was the guy who was going to go.
Yeah, he thought, given some of the other events there, but yeah, and so like I said, I didn't dislike it. I just I thought there was going to be a bigger pop, and because then I got kind of thrown by that, I didn't probably as fully appreciate it so much, because actually what they did with Morgan was really cool. Those little teases, and bringing him back at the end. So like I said, I don't have a lot bad to say. There were parts of it just didn't hit on every single note for me there. But I'm really interested to kind of see how the Morgan angle develops. So in that respect, they've done a great job on a finale, because I'm very interested in where things pick up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to agree with you, because I thought that they tied this season up like we didn't. There is kind of a cliffhanger, and we'll save this for predictions, but they did try and tie up just about every storyline that was hanging out there. The relationship between Abraham and Eugene, Carol waking up, Father Gabriel and Sasha going crazy, and I want to talk about that one scene with her at the beginning of the show because everybody seemed to comment about that particular, sleeping with the fishes scene or sleeping with the zombies. But so for second half, we're going to do this a little bit differently because, well, okay, so everybody asked me 9.9 for the second half of the season. I don't think there was really a bad episode in the second half. There was a couple of episodes that were a little bit slower, but I mean, the second last episode when everything was just a build up to the finale, you needed to have that kind of stuff. But the reason I didn't give the second half a 10 was because they killed Noah. I don't think Noah, which is probably the most brutal death, and I can't think of any death that was more brutal than Noah's, other than Aiden's, which happened right before that, where the zombies were pulling out his insides. The zombies are pulling out his insides while he's spiked to that, whatever he was, caught on. But I think, Lee said it earlier, very gory, very brutal. I think those were probably the two. I mean, was there a worse death than either one of those? And Noah by far had to be the worst.
Didn't Dale get his intestines pulled out also?
He did.
Yeah, but he got mercied.
They left Noah like that. They should have killed him, shot him.
Well, yeah. Well,
So then they have a weapon.
Glenn didn't have any ammunition at that point.
Yeah, he didn't have any weapon.
Yeah. So, but I
the
mean,
one other gory death
Aiden,
that I saw, Tony, was when Daryl came across that body, the woman tied to the tree.
Yeah.
With the W carved into her head. That was that even set him back.
Yeah, that was the same type of death though, because I'm assuming that she was not a zombie because a zombie won't eat another zombie.
True.
And she was apparently she was eaten. So the same thing happened to her that happened to Aiden, but we didn't see it. I mean, it was bad and it was brutal, but we didn't. We saw the Aiden death. What can anybody think of, like through the whole series, if there was anything as brutal?
Let me think.
No, not really.
No.
Well, when the horse got eaten.
Well,
Aiden's
yeah,
death-
it was just a freaking horse, though.
Or Noah.
Well, the only thing I can think of about the reason why they had that so much gore in that episode was, and I said I don't know anything, is that the only thing I think of it was directed by Jennifer Lynch, who was David Lynch's daughter, who also directed the movie Boxing Helena. And Helena
One of my
McGovern,
favorite
Boxing
movies.
Helena McGovern. But I know her father's not really known for his like truly gory stuff, but maybe she brought a different flavor to it, possibly, and wanted to explore that a little bit, and said, I'd like to try something different. Maybe that's what it was.
Okay. Does anybody else want to say anything about this? Because I want to step through the finale a little bit for the next 20 minutes, and then when we get to the end, we'll start talking about predictions and stuff. And we got some input from the people who are reading the books. But anybody else want to make any kind of comments about first half of the season, second half of the season, badassery, non-badassery?
I think this was the most uneven season so far.
I agree with you
In
on
what
that.
way?
Well, really in every way. I thought that some of the best episodes were contained in this season, some of the best, most resonant deaths, like Noah's. And then there were episodes that were the worst, in my opinion, like the first one of the second half of the season.
Well, I mean, again, we can talk about Tyrese, and again, let's get back to Noah too. Noah, who is at this point I'm going to say youngest, but I mean the newest member of the group, because we're not going to count Father Gabriel. And his death, I mean, forget about the goriness, but it seemed when across Twitter when Noah died, there was an outcry of, oh my God, they killed Noah,
You
and
bastards.
It was just about as bad as, I mean, there was a lot of people who didn't care or were glad that Beth got killed, and then there was that group of people. Yes, Mike, we understand. Then there was that group of people that hated Beth because she used to sing her way through life, and then as soon as they killed her, they pulled the old Dale on her, like, oh my God, I can't believe they killed Beth, I was never a Beth hater, but love her or hate her, I think there was a bigger reaction to Noah getting killed than possibly Beth, if that's possible.
Well, you could tweet a lot funnier things when Noah got killed.
There was a lot of things tweeted about Beth, and have been tweeted about Beth too.
Yeah, but you got everybody ate Chris, that ends Noah's Ark, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think.
But everybody ate Chris. That is such a hack line. Like, I would have refused to use that.
I just think we didn't expect Noah to die at the time. I thought Nicholas was going to die. Now I would have liked him to die.
We'll talk about Nicholas and that piece of crap. But okay, so
one thing I saw, Tony, throughout this season is the almost like how different groups of survivors deal with this new world that they've been taken into. The people at Terminus, they start eating newcomers. The people at the hospital in Atlanta, the police there turn into a bunch of, as he said, pimp daddies, just tormenting people and making them do horrible things, but at least not eating them. And then we get to Alexandria, and it's Lotus Eaters there. Oh, we're safe behind our wall. Different groups, and our intrepid band is going around dealing with these different worlds and getting to Alexandria eventually. Yeah, I've lived in Alexandria, so I would not want to live there again.
Well, interesting that you bring that up, because the problem with Alexandria are people.
Well, you lost your engineer.
Say again?
You lost the engineer.
We lost Lee's voice, right?
No. We lost the engineer.
The engineer guy, he would know how to reinforce that wall.
The engineer is the one who built the wall wrong in the first place. Let's face it, Lee.
Materials, maybe.
No, but he put the supports on the outside, and Rick pointed it out. I mean, it was obvious to anybody watching. You can just climb up, walk up one of those supports and get over the wall. The wall is great for keeping out zombies, but it's not good for keeping out people. And the other thing that they did, and we saw it, we saw Aiden and Nicholas, like they thought they were badasses going out, like, okay, let's go torture a zombie, tie it up to a tree. It's not the way to, that's not the way to waste your time or your ammo. But, Aiden told the truth when he said, hey, every time we went out, when someone got killed, it was our fault. Why? Because they had no plan, and they didn't support each other. The same thing that happened out when Abraham was with the construction crew picking up materials. Everybody was like, turn around, let's run away. And almost the theme was Rick, spinning around doing 2 360s, going from crazy Rick to the rational Rick, saying, hey, if you don't fight, you die. And that's the way it is.
You forgot wife stealing Rick.
Well, he didn't steal anybody's wife. I mean, I didn't.
No.
Not yet.
Technically, she's single now.
Yeah.
She's a widow.
She's a widow.
Worked out.
She's on the rebound.
I'm going to go over to see the widow Jessie. I'm going to bring her a casserole and a pie. Mm-hmm.
I like Carol when Carol said these are children, they need stories, and she's right.
I can't hear Lee.
Lee, they can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Can you hear me better?
It sounds like it sounds like a zombies.
You can see my. Here, you can't see, can you?
I can see your green thingy.
I say when Carol says they're like children, you have to give them stories. In the finale.
I think Tony can hear.
I can hear her, and I'm trying to boost up her audio. But I think that only works for me. But I'm in the control room now, so let me see.
Hey, as long as you're in the control room, Tony.
I tried to make peace.
Hear me now?
I can hear you now. I can hear you.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me, Myrna? Hey, Myrna, that was some cup of coffee.
I can't hear Lee.
No, I can't hear
nobody
Lee.
can hear you, Lee. For some reason, they cannot hear you. I can hear her.
Wonder why you can hear me and the rest can't.
They're not listening. That's why, Lee. That's why I'm the only one that can hear you.
I am.
I have something.
Well, while they get this figured out, how do you think that first conversation is going to go?
This is for Kelly.
The sorry I killed your husband. What are you doing Friday?
Okay, Kelly gave you the thumbs up there.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Awesome.
Can you see that?
Should work.
Well, before we get that far, because that's getting into predictions, Mike. What the hell was Sasha thinking about lying down with those bodies? I mean, I
thought
don't
visually
understand.
it was cool.
Visually, it may have been cool, but I mean,
I just really wanted Sasha to die. I was really, really upset she didn't die. Her character was becoming very annoying. Not bringing that much to the group.
I can't fathom being so crazy or so tired where a pile of dead zombies looks like it's a good place to take a nap. I know she does explain herself a little bit later on when she's...
there is something comforting about being wrapped up in corpses, though.
At least they don't make a lot of noise.
It's true.
They don't snore.
Excuse me?
Well, they do.
But dead girls aren't fussy.
I'm guessing as they're rotting, though, they will outgas a little bit.
That's when you switch them out. It's all about the rotation.
Yep.
It's all about the rotation. So you need...
There's always fresh zombies to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, wouldn't it be more comfortable if they were a little bit bloated, though?
Ew. Are they gonna blow up?
Oh, jeez.
I'm a support guy. Like, even when I'm in bed, I don't over fluff my pillows.
Well,
I like the flat support.
Yeah, you could do like a zombie sleep number bed and kind of organize them by when they died, and then you could kind of pick the level of bloating or decomposition that was most comfortable for you.
So,
I think, to get back to what you were asking about Sasha, what I think is that she was so emotionally dead, so flat, that she more identified with the zombies than she did with her fellow survivors.
Again, it was brought up already. Sasha lost Bob, and she lost her brother. And I don't know if the Noah thing put her way over the edge because she was already teetering anyway. But
was she that close with Noah?
Not really, but he was in the group, and
didn't she have that conversation with Michonne in the last episode, saying at the one before the finale is like I told him he wasn't going to make it, or he told me he was scared, or something like that when she was she was like yelling at Michonne in the forest. She said something. I can't quite remember what it was, but it was about I knew he was going to die or something like that.
Yeah, and technically she didn't lose all of Bob.
Was she that close with
Well, that's like about 80% of Bob.
Of course.
Oh.
Yeah, because part of Bob was takeout, right?
That's right, yeah.
The barbecue.
Barbecue.
Barbecue is what Lee said if you could not hear her.
I
Barbecue.
feel like hanging up and shutting my phone off and
So
recalling.
the remaining termites already started on Bob, right?
Yeah. Hold on. Hey Lee, I'm gonna kick you out, and why don't
Kick me
I'll
out.
re-invite you? Why don't you see if you can find the invite on your laptop?
Not Lee, Tony, not Lee.
I have something to show Kelly too.
You haven't even heard what I was going to say about Bob.
I saw it.
He saw it.
Yeah.
He saw it.
Well, it's signed by Neil Smith.
Sweet. Very nice.
Very
All right. Kick me out.
I'm gonna kick you out. Bye. Eject.
Oh.
Quick, everybody hide.
Okay, so she's gone for now. I'll re-invite her. So
Well, maybe real quick, just finish that off. Maybe that was her final low point, was just lying amongst the dead, and maybe she's going to start. I mean, this might be getting into predictions, but maybe she's going to start crawling out of the wreckage, as it were, and start, getting back to normal, getting out of her PTSD there a little bit. Maybe that was just the final leg of it, maybe, and now she's going to start recovering.
well, Amy says that Sasha was thinking about blood facial. It's all the rage nowadays, and according to Kim K, she would be the person to ask about the blood facial. But one of the things that I know was an issue in the comics at this point after the loss of Beth, Maggie's supposed to be the one that's crazy. And have they transferred, Kelly, do you think, that storyline over to Sasha?
And Dylan would be a good one to weigh in on this too. I think there's the group needs somebody who's really, really good with a gun. The group has somebody who's really, really good, and I think Sasha's gonna. Well, a couple people said she's gonna kind of bounce out of this, and her big thing's gonna be shooting stuff. She's gonna get real good at shooting stuff.
Well, I mean, she's already been doing that, even going back to Woodbury when she was trying to teach Tyrese how to shoot. And so I agree with you, but the question is, was Sasha going crazy in the book, or was that kind of like a Maggie storyline that they've kind of transferred over to Sasha?
Sasha didn't make it this far in the book. I don't think it was quite Maggie or her replacing Maggie, because Maggie was literally suicidal. She actually had herself hung at one time and was getting ready to die, and Glenn found her and cut her down, and then they worked out their issues. And so she at first I thought this is where they were going, because she appeared to be kind of suicidal when she was shooting all those pictures of the people that were in the house, and she's like, come and get me. But then she started saying that she was playing offense, which I kind of like that comment, going after the zombies instead of waiting for them to attack. And could that be construed as being suicidal? Sure, I suppose it could, but maybe they are transferring it a little bit to her, but it's hard to tell, because and that's one of the interesting things about the difference between the book and the show, is that you're able to get those differences and not quite know exactly what's going on. So they might have just said, okay, we need to have someone who's kind of suicidal. We don't want it to be Maggie right now, so let's toss it over to Sasha.
Okay, so this is a question for Myrna. In the arc of this season, Emmy for Melissa McBride, because she starts out the season, I mean, she not that she stopped becoming a badass, but so badass after Terminus, up to her armpits in bloody guts, to Susie Homemaker making casserole and making cookies, but at the same time terrorizing little children, which is one of the things that we like the best.
All three of those are positive qualities in a woman.
And they are. But
No wonder Helena's your side piece, Mike.
And do we think she should get an Emmy? And Myrna, what do you think about Carol this season?
I loved Carol. Loved her. From her flowery sweater to all her hidden, the way she acted towards Sam, scaring the poor little kid. I loved her. Even from the last season, too. Just when she was badass. But this season, definitely, she deserves an Emmy. That smile, she did everything with a smile. I loved her.
Has anybody gotten an Emmy nomination from this show at all?
Nope.
She deserves it.
Walking Dead, that's the one interesting story that they always bring up, is that Walking Dead always seems to get shut out at the Emmys. I don't think they've ever been nominated for Best Show. They've never had any actors get nominated before, which I think is a crime. I totally think Melissa McBride should get an Emmy nomination. And I thought Norman Reedus over the last couple seasons should have gotten at least one as well. The others, not so much. Rick is pretty much playing for the most part, kind of a one-note pony for the most part, just different levels of insanity. But, Reedus has got sort of something else going on. But absolutely, of all of them right now, Melissa McBride totally deserves an Emmy nomination. It's going to be a total crime when she doesn't get it, because I know she's not going to, because the Emmys are a farce.
Yeah, well, I'm just asking that because, my personal opinion, Carol is probably one of the strongest people in that group, and I think the advantage that her character has over everybody else is that she was abused by her husband for so long that she had coping mechanisms that she had, and probably helped her get through some of this, because as soon as her husband was gone, and as soon as she had to when she lost her daughter and she had to stand on her own 2 feet, she's been just badass the whole time. And she doesn't ask for permission. She'll do what they do in the military, and she'll act first and beg for forgiveness later. And she's done it more than once.
She has gotten stronger through all the seasons in character, emotion.
Yeah, and conversely, who's gotten weaker? There's one character that seems to have weakened for me. And
not Carl.
Was that John?
Yeah, Michonne, do you think?
Yes, definitely Michonne.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Because she was a badass. We find out that the two zombies that she was chained at the hip to were her boyfriend and his buddy, allegedly, and that's some pretty sick crap, And she seems to have. Let me see if I can invite Lee one more time, because she didn't pop back in.
Michonne did pick up her sword, which means maybe she's back.
So while Tony's doing that, Dylan, if you had to pick 2 members of this panel to be your zombie bodyguards with chains around their neck, who would they be? Go.
Geez, that's a good question.
I would pick women.
I could kick ass.
I was actually leaning towards...
No. You'd be the zombie, Myrna.
I was leaning towards Helena. I was leaning towards Helena. And, I don't know.
Well, good choice, Dylan, because I'm
I think all I need is Helena. I think all I need is you, Helena. That's all.
That's all you need, because I may be old and slow, but I'm sweet and vindictive.
Maybe Lee also, when she pops back in here. I think that would be pretty badass, too. What about you, Kelly?
Oh, boy, I don't know if I'd have any of the lot of you. Well, see, because one of the things you do, apparently, is you cut the jaw off so that the zombie can't talk. So we know Mike would be one of them. And
you'd have to take the arms off, too, because that's what Michonne did. So that way there'd be no texting involved.
I'd probably do Mike and Judith.
Little Judith.
So this just in from one of our friends, Carol and Porch Dick scene. and she said her male member would have gotten aroused if she had one. She's hot, and I did paraphrase that. So
In
the Carol,
relation to what?
the Carol and the porch dick scene, Pete, Jesse's husband, when
Yeah, when
Gunfight.
Carol brought the casserole over and then stuck a knife in his face. I mean,
yes,
bringing a casserole over is very nice here in Wisconsin, but putting a knife in a guy's throat, that's not. That's
you want to
not
know
so
something?
nice.
I'm
more
going
New
to
Jersey.
do that.
Foreplay.
That's more New Jersey.
Yeah, no, it's not nice anywhere. We don't do that here in Jersey.
You're from Wisconsin, John?
Yeah.
Wisconsin, you got a basketball team there?
Yeah, you know we do. A very good one. Go Badgers.
Oh,
Badgers.
I know. Imagine that.
Saturday.
I want cheese. He got cheese.
Cheese. Lots of
But-
cheese.
It
That's what
totally was. You know, for a second there, I almost thought that the knife she threatened him with might turn out to be the one that killed Reg at the end, because I kind of knew that was going to happen because I read the comics. But then I thought, you know, that would be kind of bad if she would have left the knife there, because he could have grabbed it, maybe tried to attack her. I don't know, but that was a badass scene. Just fantastic. I mean, she comes in all nice and made you a casserole, and then guess what? I'm gonna fucking kill you if I want to.
Yeah. And you want to know something? He knew she would. He knew she would, because that's what set him off. Because right after she leaves, she looks across and he sees Rick standing in front of his house.
Doing
And-
some
and
life
that's-
stealing.
Well, you can call it what you will there, Kel. He was
I think I'm fairly accurate in what I'm calling it.
at that point he was dead man walking. You know.
Oh, okay, all right. So if you plan to kill somebody, it's okay.
We didn't talk too much about the Nicholas and Glenn thing, but we did stumble upon it. A lot of people thought that, again, he would be the one that left, because because of the hype, the season finale, everybody thought someone was going to die. Were you surprised with the way that turned out?
I was. They were buddies by the end. I was pissed.
Buddies is a little strong.
Well, I'm kidding,
Yeah.
but you know, they were practically walking.
You know what? I'm not surprised at all, because if you've been watching Glenn's arc since the beginning of the season, remember when they were leaving Terminus and they heard the banging on one of the train cars, and Glenn's like, "We don't leave anybody behind," and he opened the door, and of course it was Psycho Charles Manson dude who ran out and then got eaten by a zombie, which was freaking hilarious. But it was just, you know, he showed that, you know, he is not going to, you know, kill anyone unnecessarily. That's not how he feels personally that they should be running things, that the way things are going, we need to figure out different ways to do it. So actually I wasn't surprised, but it wouldn't have surprised me if he would have blown his brains out, because of everything that happened to him, getting shot and losing Noah and all that, just anger just coming out at him. It wouldn't have surprised me, but then at the same time, this is Glenn we're talking about, and that's what he's been doing this whole season, is he's been playing the kind, good guy. We got to save everybody. We don't kill people. You know, we figure out a different way. Anyone else
But this
agree?
is not going to end well.
Well, that's what I was alluding to. Dylan touched upon it. If it was anybody else other than the chicken shit guy who almost got him and did get Noah killed, and probably got countless other people's killed by his cowardice, that's what surprised me. And because it happened to Glenn, and this guy was ready to run at the get-go. You know, Tara was down, his best buddy was down, he was ready to leave, you know. So that's why I asked that question. And let's see, do we need to touch upon anything else that happened besides the big battle at the end with Pete?
Morgan is one heck of a
Ninja.
yeah. Picked up some
He's
skills
good.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I remember during the finale, when Aaron and Daryl were stuck in the car, I knew they were going to be rescued by Morgan. I was like, yes, it's going to be Morgan. I wasn't surprised. I was surprised at the end when we saw the guy in the red raincoat because I thought they'd open up the season with him, which gets into predictions, but they already showed him. And we know what's coming up next season. We know there's
Oh,
going to be the
forget it.
Wolverine guys. They set that up.
And they have the pictures, the wolf
Yeah,
guys.
well, they had the pictures. That's what I mean when I said they set that up. But, I mean, you've got these two guys, and there's more of them because these guys couldn't have pulled all this crap off by themselves. Okay? And they don't seem like they're really smart, but they've got this garage door opener that they push a button, and they've got like an instant disco going on to round up all the zombies. How do these two dopes set something up like that?
Maybe they did, and maybe someone else in the group. Maybe like, okay, here's your remote, take it.
I think their role was confined to press the button. I think the whole. But Mike, did you hear what music was playing to lure the zombies into the trailer?
What music was that, Kelly?
That would be "Love and Mercy" by Brian Wilson. That's true. That's honest. True.
So now, having brought that point up, it seems like a lot of work for them to go through to catch somebody, a wanderer or two, who happens upon that place. Pretty much, I mean, it didn't seem like that red poncho guy had much of anything, you know. So why go through all that work, you know, to catch somebody who's wandering here and there?
Maybe it's like here in Wisconsin where they come up with these giant sculptures because of the long, dark winters, and they have nothing else to do, so they carve a large cow. So these people are wandering around in the zombie apocalypse, and they don't have anything much else to do, so they come up with this incredible craziness with the trucks and the garage door openers and the music and the zombie disco.
Right.
Maybe they belong to the circus.
Well, the only thing that I could say is, I mean, you take a look at the place. It says on the outside, forget about what the signs say. It says there is canned food here. At this point in the zombie apocalypse, I would think that place would have and should have been cleaned out at that point. And there wasn't a lot when they went in. There wasn't hardly any zombies in the yard, and it would have been helpful if there was a zombie or two, or a bunch more, because then that would say, hey, look, with all these zombies, there's a lot of people who came by here, saw all these zombies, and decided it wasn't worth trying to break in. Which brings us to predictions. And I'm going to start with the people who haven't read the books yet. Based on what you're seeing, how do you think next season's going to start, Helena? Are we going to be like at, you know, is it going to pick up exactly where the season left off, or are we going to see like maybe Baby Judith walking around? How do you think it's going to start out?
I think that it's going to start out, Morgan will have joined them, and I think that Rick, I'm thinking, is going to either be running the town, that Deanna has been completely crushed by this experience, and she's going to be a shadow of her former self. And I'm not sure whether it'll be Rick who's in charge, but it'll be Rick or Carol or one of our intrepid bands who's going to be running this whole thing.
So no council, like group, like maybe like a Rick, Deanna.
No, I don't see it. I don't see a council thing at all, because you tried the council thing before. You tried all of the let's have a meeting in the dark before and had that work out for you. So now I'm going to tell you how to do it, and I think everybody's so shook up that they will acquiesce.
Okay, John?
I see it starting out in Alexandria with Rick in charge, being assisted by Morgan. Morgan's going to be a leavening element for Rick, because I can see him spinning out of control and going really really crazy and down the rabbit hole. And Morgan, I think, can be a very stabilizing factor, and I hope they have a big role for him next year. Lonnie James, he just did a great job with the little he had this year.
Yeah, I think they will. However, with the Morgan character, he is a little bit of a conundrum there. And I think, based on what we've seen, there is some crazy left in him. Because
why is he after Rick? Why is he following him?
Well, because he told him he way back in Clear when he came across him again, he said, "Hey, they had the walkie-talkie thing for a while, and apparently Morgan may have been listening, but he told him, come join us, come with us," and so he decided to follow for Rick. Morgan's crazy. I think he's still a little bit crazy. And don't let that, hey, every life is still precious stance fool you, because what did he do? He knocked out those two guys. He threw them in the back seat of the car, and then he started honking the horn. And the only reason that you're honking that horn in that car
attract some zombies
is to attract some zombies. Now,
I thought so first, but watch it again. Watch it again.
And according to the Talking Dead, he said he did it for another reason, but I don't remember.
Which was if you watch when he honks the horn, he then starts scanning and looking around, because the other explanation is he didn't kill them. He put them in there. You should be safe. Let me see if there are any other zombies around. There aren't. I'm out of here.
Oh, right. That was
okay. That's full of crap.
Why did he shut the door then, Einstein?
Because for the same reason that Daryl and Aaron would have been trapped in dead. Unless somebody came to rescue them, because basically that car that's sitting there in the middle of that parking lot at the vegetable warehouse is the trap, because that's the place that everybody runs to or has run to. People ran there before based on the little post-it note that someone said bad people are coming, and the bad people must have been outside the car when someone scratched that note.
Not according to the actor.
Well,
maybe that's what he believes.
Again, there's the actors may not be given the reasons for everything they do, and may not be given all of the explanations, but Morgan may believe because he had a line that said, "Hey, every life is precious," and not kill those guys. I mean, the other explanation would be beep the horn to see if you attract other people. Were these the only two people that were around? I would have taken that as a better explanation than, hey, let me honk the horn to see if there's any other zombies around, because if there are, they will come to the car. And these two knocked out guys, guess what? They're screwed, because I'm running away from these zombies and I'm leaving these two guys here. So, I'm sorry. If it was the writer that said that, then I'd take it, but maybe not so much from the actor portraying. Mike, predictions.
I'm pretty much with John and Helena on this one. I see Rick as a driving force behind the community next season when we start off, and I think that he's going to need the other characters to balance him out.
Myrna.
I think the same. Rick is going to be in charge. Carol will probably be training people. Michonne, I don't know. She'll probably be training too. Others.
Carol's going to be training people doing what?
I think they're going to be, well, Carol will probably come out of her flowery self and start being herself more. Now that they don't really have the piano.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit, because I think Carol is still going to be a little bit like the Susie Homemaker type stuff, but she will be teaching the kids how to use knives, definitely. So let's go with Kelly first. Predictions.
Rick in charge. Morgan is his second in command. Morgan's going to marry Michonne. Rick is going to kill Morgan to steal Michonne from him. There you go.
Morgan.
Because that's what Rick does now. He's a wife stealer.
Okay. And
He doesn't steal
Laura,
wives, he steals widows.
That's right. He's a widow collector.
Well, he is a widow too.
Laura agrees with me. Wrong. Just saying.
I would love though if the opening scene was the picking up at the exact second this ended. Rick shoots him on the ground, then turns to his now widow and goes, "So, you doing anything after this?"
I think Morgan's gonna be shocked when he's is in shock.
Okay, and Dylan, predictions.
Carol's playing the long con. She's still going to play Susie Homemaker because she doesn't want to reveal all her cards just yet, even though I agree with everybody else. Rick and the group are going to be in charge. I don't think it's going to be necessarily like a Rick's in charge and second in command like that. They're all going to sort of work together and try to help the town build it up a little bit. And then they're going to have their first test when the wolves show up, and then some other bad stuff is going to be happening down the line, which I will not get into. I guarantee you, I'm betting because this last second half of the season has been basically almost a by rote writing of the comic and or adaptation of the comic with some slight changes here and there, especially with Daryl's character. But since he's not in the comics, and Carol also because she's not around in the comics either. But basically, the main beats you've been seeing in the second half of the season are from the comic book, and if they're going to stick more with that, you've got some really interesting stuff coming up.
Okay, so my opinion, and my opinion, not shared by all you people, I think we are may see just a quick little scene of right after, but I think we're going to see a time jump. I think we may see. Without a doubt, Rick will be in charge, but I think he will have to have. There will have to be a power structure that includes Deanna, only because some of those people still have to wake up to reality. They've been living behind those walls, and they just don't know what it's like out there. But I think we're going to see Judith walking around. There's going to be a little bit of a time jump. We're going to see changes to Alexandria. The changes that Rick thinks that they need to make the place more secure. We'll see them doing some of the things that Rick thinks they need to do, like have people outside looking around, like doing some kind of patrols and stuff. But again, we know the easiest prediction to make is we don't know how many of these Wolverines or wolves there are, and there is going to be that big confrontation. Will it be the whole first half of the season? Will it be the whole season? I don't know.
The wolves seem to be a whole new level of crazy compared to what they've run into in the past.
If they get into that town, they're in trouble. Those people.
Well, no matter where they are, if these people get in, they're in trouble. But
we're assuming that the wolves are bad guys.
They are.
Bad guy.
Hell yeah.
So they're bad guys because they invited a few other survivors to the last remaining club.
No, because if you remember, in Noah's neighborhood, they totally wiped out everybody in the neighborhood. They sliced them, diced them. They've had the people who were tied to trees getting killed and eaten by zombies, so they would turn into zombies. They're pure psychopaths.
Yeah,
All circumstantial. All circumstantial
No,
evidence.
they were going to kill
We didn't
Morgan.
see that happen, though. We don't know how that went down. Those people might have been dicks.
They could have fallen on
Okay.
knives and stuff.
They're greedy.
Right. And not one of those zombies, when they got put back in the trailers, not one of them paid a cover charge to get back in there. Those are some crazy people running that organization.
That's right.
okay. So
Those people are greedy.
before we end this, does anybody have any last comment?
I had one real quick I wanted to make, and I thought about this after the finale, and I saw some people on Twitter saying, I feel gypped, nobody died, because they were building it up for people to die. To be honest, if you think about all the seasons of The Walking Dead, only one season finale did someone big die, and that was Andrea in season 3. Everybody else who died, who was like a main character, was right around the mid-season finale. Like, let's go in the second season when Shane and Dale died. It wasn't in the season finale. It was the episodes before the season finale. Tyrese and Beth died in the middle of the season. So none of the major characters ever died in the season finale except for Andrea in season 3. That was the only one.
Someone predicted that death too. I'm trying to remember.
Was that you, Tony?
Oh yeah, that's right. I predicted that one.
But no, I'm just saying. I just think though, in the end, we probably should have been a bit more. If kind of thing. I mean, I know they always want to change it up, but they've never ever, except for Andrea, had one of the main characters die in the season finale. Maybe we should have figured that out because it always seems to be mid-season.
There was a lot of chatter about main characters dying on Twitter and on the interwebs, and I stayed away from it. And
at the same time, though, to be honest, they didn't actually come out and say, "Yeah, main character's going to die." They just said, "Blood will fall. You'll need tissue."
Right. And one of the things that, whether it happened or not, because even my daughter was telling me, a lot of people were saying Daryl was going to die because he sold his house. Well, it's quite possible that Norman Reedus did sell his house down in Georgia, and maybe he bought another one. We don't know. But
he just made 3 movies. He's probably rolling in it now.
Yeah, and the other piece of that too is I think Hardwick plays a little bit into it. With the guests and stuff, because people caught on whenever he was going to have a guest on, they were usually dying that night. So, you got to take your guess. But it seemed like they put a lot of the main characters in enough spots for them to die.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's why I like the finale.
And I knew it wasn't going to happen, but it would have been something. I mean, like, Glenn had a battle with Nicholas.
Aaron and Daryl.
Sasha and Father Gabriel, when we didn't even talk about him, and I don't want to talk about him too much because I hope he dies early next season.
Yeah, me too.
Even though he has finally made his confession. But there was a lot of things going on, these little battles, and I thought, what we might see is Rick walking down the street and, Porch Dick Pete coming up to him and just friggin' hit him with a baseball bat in the back of the head, and then all of a sudden Rick is dead. Not that they'd kill Rick, because they can't, but it would have been one of those deaths where it just came out of the blue instead of something that happened in the middle of a battle or whatever.
I think
anybody else?
I like Aaron's character now. You know how before when they introduced him, I was like, who the heck is that? Now I like him.
I think everybody likes Aaron. Everybody always liked Aaron. I loved Aaron from the first time I saw him.
No.
Good-looking man, well-dressed, clean.
Not in the beginning. I was suspicious.
You were suspicious?
But what about Abraham? He doesn't seem to have much of a... Like, what are they going to do with him?
Oh, don't worry. He's got a
He's
story
the construction boss, and he's a badass.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's the boss now.
And Eugene, I think, is going to be good enough to take over for Mr. Reg.
He's got a story coming up also.
Yeah.
So we've got some stuff to look forward to, but...
I just really hope right in the beginning they kill off the Father Gabriel character.
I think they're going to keep him on just to torture us.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think
Dylan, you don't understand, though. They need to, because he should be really busy filming Teen Wolf.
I think what's going to happen with Father Gabriel is they're going to keep him around, so as Rick steals people's wives, he can marry them.
God.
Yeah, Rick's going to have Eugene build him a Pope mobile, have be all protected. It'll be nice.
Awesome.
I will put Gabriel on guard duty. Because he'll get everybody killed.
He's apparently stopped
He'll be
learning
the
how to lock
gatekeeper.
doors.
He doesn't know how to
He's
lock
going to be the
the gate.
gatekeeper.
And he used to be so good at that, John. He could lock the doors.
All right. With that, I'm going to say goodnight. Next week is the snooze, so if you guys want to watch the snooze, we will probably be talking about Snark Stock 2015. We'll have...
Is a major character going to die?
Uh-oh, Mike. Watch your back, Mike.
Yes, actually, we're planning on having one of the attendees die at Snarkstock 2015.
I gotta get my poster out. I'm going to die on snooze.
That'll be next week. Kelly's got a whole bunch of stuff that he does, nurture and support, and Better Call Saul thingy, and
Yeah,
whatever.
season finale next Monday.
Yes,
Finale,
indeed. And we will be on camera for the finale. We will not.
We're going to see your face.
Yes.
It'll be so weird for people to see our faces.
I know, so you see those little creatures.
Yes.
And Dylan knows is when?
We'll be on Saturday because of Easter, so I'm shifting it to Saturday. It's going to be and MJ Con doing our comic book show.
When do I get back on Dylan Knows? I've things to discuss.
Oh, don't worry, you guys. I've got a major idea for both you and Mr. Tool, and I'm going to drop that on you guys very soon. So.
Okay. Well, anyway, good night. You can
Yes,
continue
get out
this
here.
off here. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you next year sometime.
Okay, good night, Tony.
All right.
Good night, everybody.